G'day and welcome back. Here we are at it again with another Commander Masters Commander deck. This one's Enduring Enchantments, and our face commander is Enchantments, Hand of Erebos. Let's pop it open and see what it wants to do inside. So, we've had a look at a few of these decks. They're pretty decent for what they are. There's not much on this part, it's just a little bit of art. Yeah, they've been built pretty decently. Like the little bit of artwork there of Enchantments. Crack this open, have a look inside. We know the drill. We've got a little spin down counter, no art on it. A little bit of art, don't need that. Infiller and the Collector Booster sample pack. So yeah, it's been interesting decks. Are they worth the price? They are a bit more of a premium price. I'm still not convinced. Let's see what we get. Ooh, extra planar lands. That's a great card to get. Really nice art, really nice reprint, and Faithless Looting. Nice, excellent. So yeah, I do like these little sampler packs. They are quite nice. We'll crack this open, have a look at the cards. I'm going to break it down for you which commander I would run out of this as well, how the deck plays, how it could be played, different ways that I've sort of thought about this and how I would sort of split it up and build it myself. So yep, our face commander is Enchantments, Hand of Erebos. So she is a 4/4 for 5, has menace, and other enchantment creatures you control have menace. So obviously tells me it wants to punch. When Enchantments enters the battlefield or attacks, exile up to one target non-aura enchantment card from your graveyard. Create a token that's a copy of the card, except it's a 3/3 black zombie creature token in addition to its other types. So obviously we're enchantment based, but we don't want aura enchantments, which is alright. We can build around that pretty easy. It's in some nice colours. You've got green, white and black. A lot of really good enchantments sit in those colours. So yeah, there's a lot of versatility in this deck. Our second face commander is Nasi the Fable Singer. So 4 mana for a 3/3 with lifelink. Whenever you sack an enchantment, draw a card, and whenever the final chapter ability of a saga you control resolves, each opponent loses X life and you gain X life, where X is that saga's mana value. I've made a Tom Bombadil deck from the last one. Sagas, I can tell you now, they're really hit and miss. It's very hard to get what you need out of them. You've got to be tutoring really hard. Don't get me wrong, this has black in it, so you can get some access to some really good tutors, but honestly, I don't think it's an amazing card. I don't think it's... Well, sorry, it is a good card. It's just not the best commander, especially in this pre-con. From what's inside of here, it's not packed full of sagas, so you're not getting a lot of ability from that. I do like the second ability when you sack an enchantment, draw a card. It's actually one of the ways that I want to lean this deck. I think it's going to work well because with your Enchantments, you do need your enchantments into your graveyard, and unless your opponents are destroying them, sometimes you really want to get that in to get this ability, to get the triggered ability to happen. So I like the ability to sack enchantments, and I think that's what this card's going to be good for and where it'll work fine. So sagas can sort of play into this, but yeah, I think it's just not going to be the biggest part. I don't think she's going to be a fantastic commander from it. So have a look. We've got Path to Exile, great for removal. Extinguish all hope, destroy all non-enchantment creatures, which is awesome because a lot of your creatures are going to be enchantments. You do have to watch when to use this because there are a lot of supportive creatures that are non-enchantment creatures that let you draw cards from enchantments and bits and pieces like that. So yeah, just be careful when you cast this, but it is a really nice board wipe that can be one-sided for you. Kadama's Reach, we've got some nice ramp in here. Arcane Signet, great. Soul Ring. I mean, these are artifacts, but still, it's still not too bad. Ash Barrens is a weird land. Command Tower. Okay, so we've got Cast Out. Flash, you can exile target non-land permanent until this leaves the battlefield, and you can cycle it. So the cycling ability is really nice. You can discard it and then get it back again. So anything with this kind of ability, cycling, ways to put these enchantments into your graveyard is really going to benefit your commander here. So straight away, that one goes under Enchantments. Love Song and Night and Day. You and target opponent each draw 2 cards. So it's a saga card. Look, sagas work really well with this commander, but funnily enough, the sagas actually do still work with Enchantments because once they trigger, they sack themselves and they go into your graveyard. So realistically, any saga will work with both. So I'm just going to put it here to indicate that it is between the two. We've got Omen of the Sun. So yeah, when it enters, you get some humans, you gain some life. You can sack it to scry 2. So cool ability to be able to get some. It's quite expensive for what it is. But yeah, it can be good to be able to use. I'm putting it here because I like the ability to get it back. Here we go, Spirited Companion. When it's battlefield, you can draw a card. So a little doggo enchantment. It's all right. I mean, we can get better. Eldest Reborn, awesome saga. Make people sack stuff and reanimate. Really cool, really good. Good for both decks. Mindrak Harpy. At the beginning of combat on your turn, each player mills 3 cards. So flying 3/2 for 4 doesn't seem too good, but you really do need this. You really need to be able to get cards into your graveyard. A lot of the upgrades I'll be talking about will be ways to put things into your graveyard, whether it's that sack ability or something like that, a mill effect. So yeah, still good card. I think it'll still work really well. Binding of the Titans, it mills, it does a whole heap of fun stuff. And it sagas, it sacks itself, so it actually works really well with the commander. Destiny Spinner, so this is an enchantment creature, and creature and enchantment spells you control can't be countered. Really amazing, that's all that you want. The other ability, yeah, it's okay, but I mean, it's really good for this deck. Farseek, a good way to get a swamp and some more lands out. Font of Fertility, so this is one of those ones where you can sack it, search your library for a basic land, put it on the battlefield tap, so it's 3 mana, but it's nice ramp, so it goes 1 and then 2, and you can get a land. In a normal deck, it's pretty bad, but being able to reanimate it as a creature and then being able to sack it later as well for extra value, really cool, really good for it. Then we've got Greater Tanuki, so it's a dog, it's got trample, it's a 6/5, it's 6 mana, which is really expensive, but you can channel it to go get a basic land and put it onto the battlefield tapped. So the channel ability is what you're going to be using it for originally, and then you'll reanimate this 6/5, it'll come back as a 3/3 trampler. So yeah, it's one that you could swap out, but it is still ramp for 3, which is still not bad, so we'll keep it in there for now. Kalani Heart Expedition, this is whenever land enters, you sack it, then you can go get 2 basic lands, so that sack ability is really nice. Ramp again. Nessun Wanderer, when an enchantment enters the battlefield, look at the top 3 cards, you can reveal a land, put it into your hand, put the rest on the bottom in a random order. Great way to get a lot of lands into your hand. With a lot of these getting lands though, I still think there's an ability to be able to pull this out of the deck. I think like it's not an enchantment, so you're not getting that. Yes, you're getting enchantment goodies out of it, but I feel that's one that's you could really pull out of this deck. Omen of the Hunt, same thing, see, so you're getting a land when it enters, and then you can sack it and then reanimate it, so you've got a lot of that ability. Rampant Growth, so that's sort of one area as well you can look at, is a lot of these like ramp spells. Even like Sol Ring's still amazing, Arcane Signet's really good as well, but if you can find other ones that do that sort of ability, that sack themselves in enchantments to get your lands, that's a great way to go with them as well. Binding of the Old Gods, so really cool saga, can blow up some stuff, can get you some ramp, and then give you a creature's death touch as well. I mean, what else do you want out of this? Jukai Naturalist, it's an enchantment creature, so it works well. If it dies, you bring it back. Reduces the cost of your enchantment spells. Really, really good. Really nice. Nyx Weaver, the mill ability, really good on this. It's an enchantment creature, you can pull it back up, and you can return a card from your graveyard to your hand by exiling it. So really good for reanimation and stuff like that, bringing stuff back. Satyr Enchantment, so whenever you cast an enchantment spell, draw a card. This isn't an enchantment, but this is one of those ones that is just absolute gas for your deck. Really good. I would definitely keep it in the deck, even though you can't get it back. Then we've got Golgari Rot Farm, so we've got some lands. We'll put them to the side. Battle at the Hellevault, for each player exile up to 1 target non-saga, non-land permanent they control until it leaves the battlefield, and then you get Avacyn. So yeah, really cool, fun card. I like it. It's one of the new ones as well, and yeah, you can reanimate it too, which is really, really cool. Then we've got Boon of the Spirit Realm, so an enchantment, when it or another enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, put a blessing counter on it, and then creatures you control get +1/+1 for each blessing counter on it. So with punching hard with Menace, this is amazing. You can reanimate it as well, which is really good. So yeah, really good, nice new card. I love it. Ondu Spirit Dancer. Now this isn't an enchantment creature, but whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, you can create a token that's a copy of it. A lot of these that we've got in here and we're going to be putting in here aren't legendary, so this can work really well with that. Getting multiple copies of your enchantments, really, really good. So even though it isn't a reanimated one with enchantments, it's definitely worth keeping. Cacophony Unleashed, so it's 7 mana, which is quite expensive. When it enters the battlefield, if you cast it, destroy all non-enchantment creatures. So you've got to watch out for some of your creatures, but not many. When it or another enchantment enters battlefield under your control until the end of the turn, this becomes a 6/6 Nightmare God creature with Menace and Death Touch. It's still an enchantment, so it comes in and it doesn't destroy itself, and it gets all that nice stuff. So, and it turns itself into a creature, and when it dies again, you can pull it back out of your graveyard if you can, but you don't get the cast trigger again. Then we've got Demon of Fate's Design, so a 6 mana 6/6 flying trampler, which is quite nice, quite nicely costed. And it has, once during each of your turns, you can cast an enchantment spell by paying life equal to its mana value rather than paying mana for it. So really nice. It's also got sack another enchantment. It gets +X+0, where X is the sacked enchantment's mana value. So another way to sack some of your enchantments off. So if you really want to get them back, get some more value out of it, cool card, really good at doing that. So this is a fun little card, Ghoulish Impotence. So enchanted creature gets +1/+1 and Death Touch and is goaded. So it's an aura, so you can't get the benefit out of a Nyxia from getting it back from your graveyard. But when the enchanted creature dies, you return this to the battlefield at the beginning of the next end step. So unless that creature is exiled, you're going to get this back. I would probably pull this out just because I really wanted to do what the commander wants to do, and I think auras is probably not the way to go. Then we've got Composer of Spring, so 2 mana 1/3. Whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, you can put a land from your hand onto the battlefield tapped, which is amazing. And if you control 6 or more enchantments, instead you may put a creature or a land from your hand onto the battlefield tapped. So the creature thing isn't as relevant, as you're not looking at running big creatures that you want to cheat in, but yeah, still really, really good ability. It's not an enchantment, so you're not going to be pulling it back. Nyxborn Behemoth, so it's a 12 mana cost. It costs X less, where X is the total mana value of non-creature enchantments you control. So these creature enchantments don't count, so you still got a lot of big non-creature enchantments, so you're going to reduce it a lot. And then you can also sack another enchantment to give this thing indestructible. So interesting, fun card that you can reanimate and do some cool stuff with. Archon of Sun's Grace, when an enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, you get a Pegasus, and then all Pegasus have lifelink. Great card in Enchantress deck. I'd keep it in here. It's one of those creatures that you just want in your deck. Feldar Retreat. Look, this one is not down the whole sack route and getting it back, but the second line, when you put a +1/+1 on each creature you control and they gain vigilance from your landfall trigger, this works really good, especially if you're trying to attack a lot with your menace. This is going to just be amazing with it, so I'd keep that in there. Grasp of Fate. So when it enters the battlefield, for each opponent, exile up to 1 target non-land permanent that player controls until this leaves the battlefield. So 3 mana, a bit of removal, then when they remove it, you can bring it back and remove stuff again. Yeah, cool card, fun. It doesn't sack itself, but there are some options to get it there. Heliod, so Heliod's a great card. I do like the God Cycle. I think you can put some God Cycle in here, even though they're indestructible and the only way to remove them is by exiling. I still think Gods are still really strong and would work really well in these decks. Then we have Maester Enchantress. It's just a normal creature, but when you cast an enchantment, you draw a card, so great fuel. Sigil of the Empty Throne, great win condition in here. When you're casting enchantments, you're getting angels, really good. Starfield Mystic, another great creature, makes your enchantments cheaper, and whenever enchantment goes into the graveyard, you put a +1/+1 on it, so it gets bigger and bigger. Starfield and Nyx, cool way to reanimate your enchantments, and then if you have 5 or more enchantments, each other non-aura enchantment you control is a creature with power and toughness equal to its mana value. So great way to animate your enchantments to punch people. Can be a really good turnaround. Cunning Rhetoric. So this one is, when you get attacked, you exile that player's top card, and then you can play it at any time and spend any mana on it. cool card, especially in an enchantment build. Works really well. You can get some really interesting stuff off of other people's decks. Doomwake Giant. So when it or another enchantment enters, it gives all your opponent's creatures -1/-1 until the end of the turn. You're doing a lot of enchantments here, really good in there, and you can reanimate it with your commander. Dreadhorde Invasion. So at the beginning of the upkeep, you lose life and amass zombies 1. Then whenever a zombie token you control with power 6 or greater attacks against lifelink until the end of the turn. So I see why they put this in this deck, because it reanimates them as zombies, and then if you have power 6 or greater, it gives them more lifelink. It's not a bad enchantment, but I still think this is a spot where you could put something a little bit better in. Then we have Erebos. So whenever another creature you control dies, you can pay 2. If you do, draw a card. So this can work really well with your tokens when they eventually die. I really like this. Good ability. You can sack a creature, any of your enchantment creatures, to try to get them in the graveyard to bring them back out. I like it. Really, really good. Abundance, so you can choose land or non-land when you draw, and you just get whatever. You keep flipping until you hit it. I don't really like this card, so I would definitely pull this out. I think there's better ones in there. We've got Erasta of the Endless Web. Yes, it's a legendary enchantment creature. When an opponent casts an instant or sorcery spell, you get a spider token with reach. Look, it's okay. It works well with the commander, but I definitely think this is one that you can probably sub out for something a little bit better. Courser of Krufix, it's an enchantment creature and lets you play lands and gain life. Really cool, really good. Dryad of the Elysian Grave. Great reprint in here. You can play additional lands, and lands are every basic type. Really good. Eidolon of Blossom, so this is that fuel again, but it's an enchantment creature. It's even better. Really cool. Keep it in there. Enchantress's Presence. Draw more cards. Really nice. Herald of the Pantheon. So this is a normal creature, but enchantment spells are 1 less, and whenever you cast an enchantment, you gain a life. Good card. Mending of Dominaria. Mill some cards. Return a creature card. Return all lands. Yeah. Decent way. You can ramp a bit more with it. We've got Sanctum Weaver, which gives you a lot of mana. Enchantment creature works well. Sandworm Convergence can be a great card late game to lock down. I'm going to pull it out of the deck because I think it's a bit high on the mana curve, and you can put a bit better cards in there. Citizen's Champion. Whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield and you control, you put a +1/+1 on it and draw a card. So card draw. And a bit of a beefy boy, not bad. It isn't an enchantment, so same thing, same as this. Enchantress, Viridian Enchantress, same thing. So Battle for Bredegaard. This one's quite interesting. You get human warriors, elf warriors, and then you can choose any number of creature tokens with different names. Create a token that's a copy of them. So as long as you don't have legendary tokens, it's a good card. You've just got to have that trigger at the right time. Cool to have. Calyx Destiny Hand. You can look at top 4 cards, reveal an enchantment card, put it into your hand. Then yeah, you can exile creatures and get some interesting stuff. Return some enchantment cards from your graveyard to the battlefield. So good reanimation. Probably one of the best enchantment planeswalkers that you can get. Culling Ritual. Destroy each non-land permanent with mana value 2 or less. Add a green or a black for each permanent destroyed this way. Probably not that good because it's going to blow up all your low ones, so I'd probably pull that out of there. Mirari's Wake buffs your creatures, gives you a whole heap of mana, is an enchantment, +++. Seth's Harvest Hands. You draw cards, gain life when you cast enchantment spells, and it is an enchantment. Amazing. So we've got Canopy Vista, Exotic Orchard, Fortified Village, just a whole heap of lands. We'll flip through them all. So you got the Temple cycle, you've got the Bounce Land cycles, you got the Tainted cycle, okay, and then just a whole heap of basic lands and the thick commander card. So I'd gear this deck a lot more around Onyxia. I like the ability to reanimate. I think you could put some ways to flicker her into here, or even just get the value from reanimation out of here. So you could always go down putting a lot of the God cycle in. You've got Athreos and a few of those. A bit of protection for your enchantments would be nice. So you've got the likes of Sterling Grove, which can protect them and also give you a option to search for enchantments. You've also got Privileged Position is a great one to give your creatures protection, which is really nice. Because you're creating a lot of tokens, Populate is really nice. So things like Song of the World song can work really well. Then There's a lot of ways to like fill your graveyard up. So like Buried Alive could get you the creatures that you want to put in there. You could go Gravebreaker Lamia, which is an enchantment itself, and put stuff into your graveyard. A bit of removal in there, so aura shards would be nice. A little bit of protection because you're running so many enchantments. Sphere of Safety works really well. And then any of the doubling things, if you want to dump a bit of money in, you can always do like your Anointed Processions, your Parallel Lives. They all work really well. And then the main way that I would go with this deck is look up any sacrifice enchantments and chuck a whole heap of them in there. They don't have to be too crazy or too flashy. They'll still work really well with the value that you'll get from your commander. So you could do things like Seal of Cleansing, Seeds of Life Bounty, Aura of Silence. You've got weird ones like Cyclone. Dawn of a New Age from the Lord of the Rings one that's just out is really nice. Get some bonuses from that. Death's Oasis is really cool. Elephant Grass. There's a lot out there. Have a look. Enchantments are one of those tribes where there is just a wealth of really good enchantments that will suit this. So yeah, I definitely think a Nixia would be the best commander to pilot this. Just from my experience with Sagas, it's not too amazing. So yeah, I think it's all in all, it's a good deck. It's really hard to go bad with an Enchantress deck. There's a lot of really good cheap enchantments out there now too, with a lot of the reprints that have happened. So yeah, tell us what you think about the deck. This has also been an opening for the Adventurers Guild, and the set comes out on the 4th of August. So grab your copies when you can, and we'll catch you on the next one.